Every Battlefield game explained. From the chaos of 1942 that started it all to the troubled launch of 2042, this franchise has spanned over 2 decades, 16 games, and some of the most unforgettable highs.
And the winner of the Game Award for 2011 is...
Battlefield 3.
And frustrating lows in shooter history. If you've ever wondered how Battlefield became legendary, how it stumbled, and what made each game unique, you've come to the right place. But here's the question that keeps every fan curious: which Battlefield truly defined the series, and which ones nearly destroyed its identity? That's exactly what we're about to explore, so buckle in as we break down every Battlefield game ever released. It all began in 2002 with Battlefield 1942. This wasn't just another World War II shooter. It created an entirely new way to think about multiplayer. While other games at the time were doing small-scale deathmatches with a dozen or so players, DICE went massive. They asked, what if 64 players fought across huge maps with tanks, planes, and ships all in the same battle? The result was pure chaos into the best possible way. Iconic maps like Wake Island and the Battle of Britain became legendary, and Battlefield introduced Conquest Mode, where capturing flags drained enemy tickets. It wasn't just about kills, it was about control and teamwork. You could storm the beach as infantry, then hop into a tank, then take off in a Mustang for a dogfight over your team below. This was combined arms gameplay on a scale the world had never seen. 5 distinct classes encouraged real teamwork. Engineers fixed vehicles, medics healed, scouts sniped, anti-tank soldiers blew up armor. Bigger wasn't just better, it was revolutionary. 2 years later, Battlefield Vietnam built on that foundation and changed the tactical landscape. The defining addition was helicopters. Suddenly, squads could be dropped behind enemy lines, tanks could be airlifted into the fight, and air mobility turned battles upside down. The asymmetry of US firepower versus Viet Cong guerrilla tactics made every match feel dynamic. And the period-correct music blasting through vehicle radios added a layer of immersion no one expected. Nothing compared to flying into combat while Creedence Clearwater Revival's Fortunate Son blasted out of your Huey. This game captured the spirit of jungle warfare and urban chaos from Khe Sanh to the fall of Saigon, and showed Battlefield could reinvent itself without losing its soul. In 2005, Battlefield 2 brought the series into the modern era. It set the tone for almost every multiplayer shooter that followed. Commander mode was introduced, allowing 1 player per team to oversee the map, deploy UAV, drop supply crates, and call in artillery strikes. Squads became central to the experience, with leaders acting as spawn points and direct communication lines to the commander. This was teamwork at a level that shooters hadn't attempted. And for the first time, Battlefield introduced persistent progression. You could rank up from private to general, unlock new weapons, and see your stats tracked across accuracy, teamwork, and more. 64-player battles now included jets dogfighting overhead while tanks advanced and helicopters provided air support. It was modern combined arms perfected. Battlefield 2 is still considered a favorite for many players because it felt like Battlefield's core identity was fully realized here. That same year, console players got Battlefield 2: Modern Combat. It wasn't just a port, it was a different game with its own gimmick. The hot swap mechanic let you instantly jump between allied soldiers mid-battle. If you died, you didn't wait to respawn. You could take control of a teammate perfectly positioned behind enemy lines, and the campaign even flipped perspectives, letting you play for both NATO and China before revealing a terrorist conspiracy manipulating both sides. It was simplified, but for many console fans, it was their first taste of Battlefield. Then in 2006 came Battlefield 2142, the one time the series really went sci-fi. Set in a new ice age, factions fought over scarce unfrozen land, but the star of the show was Titan mode. Each team had a massive flying fortress hovering above the battlefield. Your objective was to destroy the enemy Titan while defending your own. First, you had to capture missile silos on the ground to bombard its shields. Then, once shields were down, you could storm the Titan itself, boarding with drop pods and fighting through its interior to blow the reactor core. Outside, jets and hover tanks fought to provide cover, while inside, infantry clashed room to room. When the Titan exploded, everyone inside had to escape or die in the blast. Titan mode remains one of the most beloved Battlefield innovations, and fans still beg for its return nearly 2 decades later. Next up was Battlefield Bad Company in 2008, a game that changed everything again. It introduced the Frostbite engine and near-total destruction. No more hiding in houses forever. If an enemy was camping in a building, you could literally level it with a tank shell or C4. Tactics had to constantly adapt because nowhere was truly safe. But Bad Company also gave Battlefield personality. For the first time, a single-player story mattered. You followed B Company, a squad of misfits chasing stolen gold bars. The tone was tongue-in-cheek action comedy with memorable characters like Haggard, who loved blowing things up way too much. It didn't take itself too seriously, but it was still pure Battlefield. And multiplayer introduced Rush Mode, where attackers had to destroy MCOM stations while defenders held them off, creating tightly focused battles that became a series staple. In 2009, EA experimented with free-to-play in Battlefield Heroes, but this wasn't Battlefield as fans knew it. It was a cartoonish third-person hero shooter clearly inspired by Team Fortress 2. It kept Conquest mode but stripped down everything else, with goofy emotes, ridiculous outfits, and small maps. It was fun for a while, but heavy microtransactions and pay-to-win mechanics eventually killed it. That same year, Battlefield 1943 arrived as a downloadable title. For $15, you got 4 classic maps rebuilt in the Frostbite engine, with destructible environments and simplified classes. Wake Island had never looked better. It was streamlined Battlefield at its best, and it became one of the highest-selling downloadable games of its era. Then in 2010, Bad Company 2 perfected the formula. Entire villages could be reduced to rubble by the end of a match. Multi-story buildings could collapse, killing enemies inside. The campaign returned with the Bad Company crew, this time on a more serious mission involving a Russian EMP superweapon. But it was the multiplayer that cemented its legacy. Spotting enemies for teammates, coordinated tracer dart vehicle takedowns, and endless destruction made it unforgettable. Many fans still consider Bad Company 2 the peak of Battlefield's destruction era. In 2011, Battlefield Play for Free tried another free-to-play model, mixing Battlefield 2's maps with Bad Company 2's weapons. While nostalgic for classic maps, it leaned too hard into pay-to-win, and the community never fully embraced it. But that same year, Battlefield 3 redefined the series. The Frostbite 2 engine pushed visuals to a cinematic level. Trailers left jaws on the floor. The campaign jumped between perspectives, from tank battles in the desert to flying off an aircraft carrier in an FA-18. But the multiplayer is what people remember. 64 players on PC, the return of jets, and maps that balanced infantry and vehicles perfectly. Caspian Border delivered sprawling tank battles, while Operation Metro became infamous for infantry chaos underground. Gun customization exploded with dozens of attachments, and only in Battlefield moments became internet legends, like parachuting out of your jet, RPGing an enemy plane mid-air, and jumping back into your own jet. Battlefield 3 was chaotic, polished, and felt like Battlefield's true blockbuster era. Battlefield 4 followed in 2013. It had a disastrous launch, plagued with bugs and broken hit registration, but underneath it had incredible ideas. Levolution let players trigger massive events that permanently changed maps, like bringing down an entire skyscraper in Siege of Shanghai, flooding towns, or crashing satellites. Naval warfare got a huge boost with attack boats. Commander mode returned, now with tablet integration. The campaign was forgettable, but the multiplayer matured into one of the most content-rich Battlefields ever, with dozens of maps and expansions. Today, many fans look back on Battlefield 4 as the last great classic Battlefield. Then came Battlefield Hardline in 2015, developed by Visceral Games. Instead of military combat, it was cops versus criminals. Heists, car chases, and police shootouts replaced tanks and jets. The campaign played like a TV crime drama, complete with episode recaps. Some fans enjoyed the change, but many felt it wasn't worth a full-price game and strayed too far from Battlefield's roots. It was a fun experiment, but ultimately divided the community. In 2016, Battlefield 1 took a bold leap into World War I. Few expected trench warfare to make a good shooter, but Battlefield nailed it by focusing on prototype weapons, powerful atmospherics, and massive scale. The campaign told multiple war stories, giving different perspectives, from tank crews to desert rebels fighting alongside Lawrence of Arabia. Multiplayer introduced operations, where battles spanned multiple maps and connected campaigns. Horses charged machine guns, zeppelins fell flaming from the sky, and gas masks and trench shovels reminded you of the brutal reality. Battlefield 1 was polished on day one and delivered one of the most unique, emotional shooter experiences ever. For many, it stands as the best Battlefield to date. Then came Battlefield 5 in 2018. It returned to World War II, but controversy followed. DICE focused on untold stories instead of big-name battles like D-Day. Some fans appreciated the diversity, others felt it bent too much history. Gameplay changes like the attrition system, fortifications, and universal squad revives made teamwork more important, but also punishing for casuals. Content was slow to arrive, but eventually the Pacific Theater expansion won back some goodwill. By the end of its life cycle, Battlefield 5 had refined gunplay and some excellent content, but its rocky start left scars. Finally, Battlefield 2042 and 2021 tried to revolutionize the franchise again with 128 player battles, massive maps, and extreme weather like tornadoes, but it stripped out the beloved class system, replacing it with specialists that felt like a hero shooter, something no one asked for. At launch, it was buggy, incomplete, and missing features, while Portal Mode, which let you mix content from classic games, was brilliant. The overall package disappointed. Ongoing updates improved it, but many fans felt the identity of Battlefield had been lost. Battlefield's had its highs and lows, and from the chaos of 1942 to the confusion of 2042, but no shooter creates those unforgettable, only in Battlefield moments quite like it. Whether it's parachuting out of a jet to RPG an enemy mid-air, watching a skyscraper collapse in front of you, or pulling off a last-second flag capture with your squad, those moments are what keep this franchise alive. Even when it stumbles, Battlefield still manages to feel bigger, louder, and more unpredictable than anything else out there. It's flawed, it's chaotic, but that chaos is exactly what makes it special. And that's why 2 decades later, we're still chasing that next incredible Battlefield moment. Want to learn about the entire Battlefield storyline before Battlefield 6? We've got a video that'll get you up to speed. Click over and check it out.